Hello folks, welcome to Blender training session number 1. I already assume that you have downloaded Blender. I'm recording these tutorials on a Linux machine. So let's get started. Let me launch Blender. So the first time when you launch Blender, um, this is a scene that's in front of you. Press escape to get rid of the splash screen. Okay, so this is the Blender application window. Okay, and you are presented with the default scene. Okay, let's name this scene cube scene, or my first blender scene. Okay, you just need to click in there and type the name. Okay, and so you have a scene, and your scene has some default objects. Okay, in blender you right click on an object to select the object. You can change this feature in the user preferences. We will see that shortly. Okay, so you have three objects, and then every scene, okay, can be displayed in different screens. Okay, so right now we are in the default screen. Okay, default screen has multiple editors. Okay, you have the properties editor. Okay, and then the outliner editor, then the timeline editor, the 3D viewport editor, and then the information editor. All right, so if you just switch to say animation screen, so you'll see that the same data, the lamp, the cube, and the camera, but then the layout is different. Okay, now we have a user perspective view over here. Now how am I rotating the 3D view? So you just need to middle click on the mouse and then move the mouse. That's how you rotate the view. Okay, and then to zoom in and out of the view, it's just click on the scroll mouse button. Okay, and okay, so that's the 3D view basic navigation. Okay, and then you'll notice that the outliner is over here, and then there is the camera view over here, and the properties buttons, timeline, and the curve editor, and then the dope sheet. So basically you can organize your scenes into different screens so that your workflow is easier. Okay, so let's switch back to the default screen. Okay, so now let's learn about how to customize your layout. Okay, so as you can see, if I put my mouse on one of these edges, okay, it turns into a up and down arrow icon. You may not see it in the recording. Okay, but you just need to move the mouse with it on the edge, and then you can move the uh, these editors around. So there you go. And to increase the area of the outliner, just move it. Okay, so that's how you use it. So I'm going to have the information uh, editor, you know, with some gap at the top. Okay, because you can see certain commands over there. Okay, so and I'll keep my outliner something like this, and the properties editor something like this. Okay, now with these preferences set, okay, I can make these default by going to the file menu and clicking save user settings. Okay, so let me save these settings. Okay, and let's make few more changes. So right now I just want to see the objects from my current scene, so I'll change this to current scene. All right, and in the 3D viewport, okay, by default the rotation of the viewport is in trackball mode. Okay, trackball mode is not that user friendly in my opinion. Okay, so there is another 3D view rotation mode called turntable. Okay, so let's switch back to that. um, File, user preferences. Okay, so this is the user preferences window that pops up. There are very few windows that pop up like this in Blender. Okay, so let's go back to the interface, and so we want to change to turntable. So input and orbit style to turntable. Okay, save as default. Okay, and now if you click the middle mouse button and drag, you'll see that uh, the 3D view is kind of rotating in the X and Y plane. Okay, so this is the red axis is X and the green axis is Y, and the Z axis points up. You can see it here as well. That's the coordinate system of Blender. The world coordinate system is X over here, positive Y over there, and positive Z upwards. Okay, so turntable is much better. Okay, now if I open a new scene, okay, so those settings come into effect. Okay, so that's how you save default preferences. Okay, so we have seen how to move these editors and resize the editors. Okay, now let's take a look at the 3D view editor. Okay, so 3D view editor has this tool shelf panel, okay, visible by default. So from the 3D view header, okay, so this is the 3D view header. You can toggle the tool shelf. Okay, tool shelf, and it also has a properties panel. Okay, and the hotkeys for the tool shelf is T and the properties is N. Okay, so I can just press T to hide the tool shelf and N to hide the properties, and N to unhide the properties on with T for the tool shelf. Okay, so yeah, so the 3D view and then the 3D view header. Okay, every editor type has its own header. So you'll see that for the outliner editor, the header is at the top, and for the properties editor, the header is at the top. Okay, you can move these editors to the top and bottom, okay, very easily. Just right click on the header and it says flip to bottom. Okay, you can also hover the mouse over the header and press the F5 key. Okay, so if I want to move the 3D view header to the top, flip it to the top, so hover the mouse on F5. Okay, hover the mouse on F5. Okay, so that's another user interface customization feature in Blender. Okay, you'll also notice that if I move the mouse on the edge of the header, I can hide the header. Okay, I can hide the header. So when the header is hidden, you'll see this plus mark over here. So you just need to click to get it back again. Similarly, for the properties panel, it's hidden, so I can just okay, click and drag. And if I want to unhide it, I can also just click on the edge and then drag it. Okay, there you go. Okay, all right. So now let's set up a simple scene. Okay, so that you can have a render out of Blender. Okay, on on the way we'll learn about some more features of Blender. Okay, so let me turn on the properties panel, resize this a bit. Okay, and switch to the camera mode, so view and camera. Okay, now I'm in the camera mode. Right click on the cube to select the cube. Okay, I can move the cube in different ways. Okay, the easiest way is just type the location value. So to move the cube, I can just click here and type 1. Okay, I can just drag this thing around, this slider around. Okay, to initialize this to the default value, I can right click and say reset single to default value. Okay, or if I change all of these, okay, the X, Y, Z locations, I can right click and say reset all to default values, reset all to default values. Okay, so that's one way of moving objects. The second way of moving objects is select the object and move the translation handle. Okay, so here you'll see that you can turn on and off the translation handle from the 3 view header. So the transformation handles are off and they're on. Okay, this is the translate manipulator, this is the rotate manipulator, and this is the scale manipulator. Okay, so let's just move it like this. Okay, and so the viewport shading is right now at solid, so I can switch to wireframe. Okay, now with that in wireframe, let's add a plane. Okay, plane. Okay, you'll notice that whenever I'm doing some operations, okay, in the information area, you see certain commands. Okay, so those are the operators that are being run when you're accessing these menus. Okay, so everything is an operator in Blender. Okay, we'll learn more about operators shortly. Okay, so don't worry about all these commands right now. Okay, but in the future, for automating things, okay, these commands are very useful. Okay, so let's scale this plane up. Okay, scale it along the x-axis, scale it along the y-axis. Okay, so you'll see that the scale values have changed here. Okay, to initialize, just right click and reset all. Okay, to scale the plane in all the directions, okay, also called the uniform scale, just press the S key. Okay, S for scale. Okay, and then just move the mouse. Okay, so that's how you scale uniformly in all directions. Okay, to constrain the movement, I can hold down the control. Okay, you'll see that scales happen in increments of zero point 0.1. Okay, if you hold down shift while moving key the mouse, the increments happen in steps of 0.01. Okay, so let's switch back to the solid view. Okay, maybe scale the plane a little. Okay, like this. Okay, now let's hide these panels and go to the display panel. Okay, you can name the object over here. So I'll say ground. So just left click and type and enter. Okay, ground. And in the display panel here, let's turn off the grid. Okay, and let's change the viewport shading to textured. Okay, in the textured viewport shading, you can visualize the the effect of light on the scene. So let me select this lamp. Okay, to move the object, okay, you can either use the translate handle, okay, or use the hotkey G. Okay, G for grab. Okay, G, and you're now moving parallel to the camera. Okay, once you're happy with the position, just left click. Okay, left click. Okay, now if you want to make use of your graphics card to better visualize the lights and materials, you change the shading to GLSL. Okay, you'll notice that it's much better now. The viewport shading is much better now. Okay, and so that's the lamp. Okay, all right, so we have a simple scene set up. Now we need to uh, add some simple materials. Okay, before we do that, let's save our file. um, Let me file, okay, save, and let's go to my directory and say, I'll say session 1 dot blend. You'll notice that the file manager in Blender is unlike your operating system's file manager. Okay, it's a little different. So the file manager replaced uh, your a 3D view. I mean, basically your previous screen. Okay, it replaced your previous screen. So just type the name of the file and save file. Okay, all right. Now with the file saved, let's go about to the next step. Select the ground plane. Okay, let me hide the properties, and in the properties editor you'll see different tabs here or buttons. Okay, so this is the render context or the render buttons where you can change the size of your output image and a lot of other things. Okay, let's use the defaults for now, and then scene, okay, and world. Okay, let's give our scene a world. Okay, so let's give it some horizon color, something like this, and a zenith color, something like this. Okay, and turn on environment lighting so that our scene is lit by um, environment. Okay, and then there is the object context. Okay, and a lot of other things. For today, let's just stick to the material context, and with the plane selected, let's click new. Okay, and you can say ground material. Okay, ground material, and give it some color like this. Okay, similarly for the cube. Now the cube was the default object that was there, so it already has a material. Okay, in case you don't see a material, okay, it'll be something like this. So you just click new. Let me say cube material and change this to maybe a little greenish. All right, cool. And then let's also change some of the lamp properties. So select the lamp. Let me place the lamp here. Okay, and you'll notice that the lamp type is point lamp. Let's change it to spot lamp. Okay, and you can increase the size of the spot lamp. Let's keep it like this, and let's enable buffer shadows. In the 3D viewport you can only visualize buffer shadows. Okay, there you go, buffer shadows. Okay, all right, let's save the file. Now let's save a different copy. I'll say save as. Okay, I can use these plus and minus keys to increment the file name. Okay, so I'll just say session 2. Okay, save the file. Now comes render time. Okay, time to render. So to render the scene, okay, go to the render menu in the information header and click on render image. Okay, now you'll notice that the 3D viewport has been replaced by the image editor. Okay, to go back to the 3D viewport you can press escape. Okay, to get back the render buffer you go to the render menu and say show render view. The hotkey is F11. Okay, now this render result buffer has different slots. Okay, let's switch to slot number 2, right, and go to the world properties and turn off the environment. Okay, the render slots enable you to compare uh, render changes. So render, the hotkey for render is over here, F12. Okay, so this is the scene after it is lit by direct light sources, in this case the spot lamp. Okay, and this is the scene as it is lit by the direct light source, the spot lamp, and also the indirect light source or the environment light source. Okay, um, which is over here. Okay, so let's go back to render buffer number 3 and turn on environment lighting back. Okay, and render it again. So press F12. There you go. Okay, so yeah, that's your first lesson. Okay, just one final thing in terms of customizing your user interface. Say I want to see the 3D viewport and also the render buffer at the same time. Okay, I can do it in different ways. Okay, so I can drag this timeline around. Okay, since I don't need this timeline, I'll change this timeline into UV image editor and then choose the render result. Okay, so this is one way, or let me restore it back to timeline. Okay, I can split this particular 3D viewport, okay, into two. So to split this 3D viewport into two, move the mouse over this corner triangle, okay, and then left click and drag. Okay, so when you left click and drag, you get this two viewports. Now I can change this into UV image editor. Okay, so let me switch to slot number 4 and maybe move the lamp a little away. Okay, so just press the G key and move the mouse, okay, to place the lamp, and F12 to render again. Okay, so that's how you can customize your workflow. Okay, 3 and 4. All right, so congratulations on your first render. Okay, and then in the subsequent classes we'll learn more and more about the features of each of these editors and also the different tools available in Blender. Okay, thank you.